Hello everybody, my name is Run, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a puzzle that requires switches to be pulled in a particular order in RPG Maker. A couple of things to note up front here. This will be the first tutorial where I try to get you all into the habit or teach you how to use variables in situations that require multiple switches instead of multiple switches. You can kind of see I have my test run here, and if you're new to the engine, you would think that in order to make a puzzle that uses 4 switches, checking to see whether they were on or off, you would need 4 event switches to make that happen. This is not the case. Variables are super useful in many ways and can be altered in many ways, but in this scenario in particular, it is basically replacing having to use multiple switches to make something happen. Alright, first things first, as always, step 1 is to lay the groundwork for your puzzle. I'm going to use this same map here. This is a sample map. My mapping skills are terrible, if you all don't know that. So I'm just going to recreate this map once again, and we are going to use that as our base. Let's see, where is the stone cave? Here we go. Okay. Once you've laid the groundwork for all your mapping, you kind of want to figure out how you want your puzzle laid out. So for this particular puzzle, we want 4 switches, 2 here, 2 here, and we want a chest to pop up right here when they're all pulled. Also, if you pull the wrong switch at any point, we want it to completely reset all the switches back to default. I've decided for this puzzle that I want the order to be 3, 4, 1, 2, and I'm going to put that on the screen for you now. Alright, so since we want switch 3 to be pulled first, we're going to create that event first, and then that event is going to serve as the template for our other event. So we can just kind of copy, paste, and then just change the variable value, and we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and create our event here. Let's go to image, and let's take a look at these switches that we have. I thought about maybe using something different this time, like maybe something like this, but I really like these lever switches, and the cave wall is gray, so we're going to go with these gray switches. I think I'm going to use the blue instead of the red this time. So we're going to go ahead and select the image where it has not been pulled, and so it's going to be in the upright position. So go ahead and choose that. Let's go ahead and name this event switch, and we're going to create a conditional branch. And here's where we're going to create our variable. So go ahead and click the variable category. You can see I've already got one here for correct switches pulled. I'm going to go ahead and clear that so you can kind of see what it looks like from nothing to having the variable. And we're going to go ahead and call it the same name because I like that name, correct switches pulled. And the reason I didn't put any spaces in there is because I kind of am used to that from the little bit of coding that I've done. But also if you space it out, as you can see, it kind of cuts off a little, like a few of the letters. And that drives me nuts. Now that you've got your variable created, go ahead and click OK, and you want it to check if it is equal to 0. When the variable is equal to 0, that basically means that none of the switches have been pulled. We also want to make sure we create an else branch and then click OK. The sound design of how you do this is up to you. What I want to happen is when you pull the lever, I want it to make a nice little switch noise and then a nice little confirmation dialogue, maybe a little bell or a chime, showing the player that they have pulled the correct switch. So let's go ahead and make our switch sound effect here. I believe there's an actual switch noise. Where is it? There it is. That's a pretty good switch noise. I think that's good. We're going to go ahead and press OK. It's going to play that switch noise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have it then change the variable. So control variables. And we're going to change correct switches pulled to add 1 to that variable, which means we have now correctly pulled 1 switch. So make sure it's set to add 1 and then press OK. And then right after it has added 1 to correct switches pulled, we want to play a little chime sound indicating that they pulled the correct switch. So let's see what we got here. I think there's a chime noise. Where's the chime noise? There we go. I like that one. Let's go with that one. And then after that, we want it to show text to let the player know that they pulled the correct switch. So we'll just say, you've pulled the correct switch. Okay. And there we go. But Run, if you're not turning a sus switch on, how will it know how to change the graphic? Give me just a second. So under else, this event will not be able to access anything under else, but we're going to go ahead and create it like it would anyways, because like I said, this is going to be our template event that we're going to copy and paste for the other switches. So under else, we want it to play a buzzer sound to indicate that you have not pulled the right switch. So let's go ahead and find a buzzer noise here. There we go. I'm a big fan of the faster noises. Let's go ahead and make a buzzer sound, and then we want text saying that you have pulled the wrong switch. Okay. And then if you pull the wrong switch, we want it to reset the puzzle entirely. So if you pulled the wrong switch, we then want it to control variables and set it back to 0. Press OK. All right. Now the first page of our switch template is done. Now what we need to do is make a new event page. This new event page is going to reflect the graphic of the switch being pulled. So let's go ahead and make a new event page. And we're going to change the switch graphic to make it look like it has been pulled. So all the way down here. And we want the condition to be if the variable correct switches pulled is greater than or equal to 1. And so now, no matter how many more switches we pull, this will remain down until it gets reset back to 0. And then because this is no longer true, it'll revert back to this graphic. So back on our second page here, we don't want it to do anything if the switch has been pulled. We don't want you to interact with it. You could put a dialogue saying like, the switch has already been pulled, I guess, if you want to, but I'd rather just leave it all the way down completely. So now the event template is basically done. This is it. So we're going to go ahead and press OK. All right, now that we've got our first switch made, we're going to right click, we're going to copy, and we're going to paste it to whatever we want the second switch to be. In this case, that would be 4. So we're going to go ahead and paste it here. And now all we have to do is just edit a couple things and we are good to go. So let's go into here. And instead of checking to see if no correct switches have been pulled, we wanted to check to see if 1 correct switch has been pulled to then give the "you've pulled the correct switch" message. So we're going to hit space to change this, and we're just going to change this number to 1. Press OK. The only other thing we need to do is go to the second page. You're going to go to variables, and you are going to change this to greater than or equal to 2. The reason that is because at this point, now you have pulled the first one, and you have pulled the second one, which means correct switches pulled is now 2. And we want it to reflect that in the graphic being pulled down. So go ahead and click OK. And now we just need to paste it to the next one in order, which will be number 1. So go ahead and paste. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into here. If correct switches pulled equals 2, press OK. You're going to get the "you pulled the correct switch" dialog. And then it's going to switch over to this page. And now we need that to show it if it is greater than or equal to 3. Okay. And paste one last time for our last switch here. And we're going to go in once again, change this to if correct switch is pulled is equal to 3. Press OK. And then go to the second page. Now it's going to show if it's greater than or equal to 4. All right. So now we have this set up to work as a switch sequence. If you pull one out of order, it resets the switches. But what do we want to happen once you pull all the switches? Let's just do something simple. We want it to create a treasure chest. So let's create some treasure. We'll put in a dragon flail. How about that? Press OK. Now we don't want this to show up at all until all the switches have been pulled. So you're going to go in here. When all the switches have been pulled, what will the variable be? It will be 4 because you have pulled 4 switches and increased the variable by 1 each time, starting at 0. So before you pulled the first switch, it was 0. You pulled 1, it went to 1. Pulled 2, it went to 2, and so forth. So we only want this to show up when variables, correct switches pulled, is greater than or equal to 4. And now our switch puzzle should be done. But now we're on to step 3, which is, I'll mention this in every video, playtest the ever-loving crap out of your game. So try the wrong switches, try obviously the right switches, try everything you can to break the puzzle to make sure there are no weird bugs or issues with your game. So we're going to go ahead and playtest this now. Create our starting position here. Let's give it a shot. All right. Remember that our order was 3, 4, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and try to do it correctly first. So 3, you pulled the correct switch. 4, you pulled the correct switch. 1, you pulled the correct switch. And 2, you pulled the correct switch. All right. Look at that. We got ourselves a dragon flail. So it does work if we do it correctly. Now we're going to restart the playtest and we're going to try to do it incorrectly at every step to make sure that the puzzle will function correctly under any circumstance. All right, now let's go ahead and we're going to do this incorrectly at every single step. So before we even pull one correct switch, let's go ahead and try to pull the wrong one right away. You pulled the wrong switch. You pulled the wrong switch. And the volume's a little low, but it is making the buzzer noise. Let's turn the sound effect volume up a little bit. So that is working. So let's pull one correct switch. Okay. Now the next correct one is 4, so we don't want to pull that. Let's try pulling 2. You pulled the wrong switch. Uh-oh. Our graphic did not go back up. So let's take a look and figure out why that is. Aha, I see what I did. And I'll give you a second to notice before I show you what I did wrong. I could take this kind of stuff out when I make these videos, but I want you to understand why you should always test this stuff. I can't tell you the amount of times that like I've just left systems after I've made them to come back, like to do a playtest, come back later and for it to be just completely jacked because I didn't notice this one bug and then I have to go back and spend a bunch of time on it. Here's what I did wrong. Under the second branch, I have a different variable selected to go back to 0. So we just need to change this to the correct variable, right? And that is going to be for each one. So because we use this as a template. So press OK here. Go into here. Maybe this just becomes a running joke is that we just always leave an error in to make sure that we run that point home, playtest thing. All right, there we go. Let's give this another playtest. All right, so we tried all the wrong switches last time first. So we know that that works. We know that that works. So let's go ahead and pull one correct switch, and then let's pull the wrong one. Oh, there we go. Bounce right back up. So let's pull the right switch again. Pull the wrong one. It's looking good. All right, let's pull the right one, and then pull one more correct one, and then we'll pull the wrong one here. Resets it back. Perfect. And now we only have one other option to test it, which is to just do all 4. And look at that. Flawless. Well, there were some flaws. We fixed them though. All right. And that's it. That's it for the switch puzzle. Now you could scale this to however big you want, however many switches you want, and you could have it affect other things, right? Like you don't have to do a treasure chest. You could do a door. You could have it open a door. You could have it give you a buff if you wanted to. You could have it do any number of things that variable affects, right? All right, and then that's basically it. I don't always mention the steps while I'm narrating the tutorial, but I do try to put those up at the top to try to help you all kind of layer things a little bit so that it's easier to get into the habit of doing things. That helped me a lot when I was first starting, is when people had tutorials that were laid out step by step. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. And I followed that, outline for a little while. And then over time, it just became habit. So I think the steps are helpful. I'm going to start time stamping these too, so that you can jump to whatever step you need if maybe you're having the same issue that I did on step 3. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm always more than happy to help. And let me know what you'd like to see next. A few things I have in mind is like an HM system like in Pokemon, or even something like Zelda where it requires you to have a skill or an item to move things around the map. I think that'd be pretty cool. I thought about doing a quick tutorial for like a triangle style weapon system like Fire Emblem where, what is it? Sword beats axe, axe beats lance, lance beats sword. That's pretty easy to do. You could do that through elements or types. I actually have like a little notebook that I keep in my pocket with a pen. And whenever I have an idea that I think would be good for a video or good for a short, I write it down to hopefully turn that into one later. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. Hit the subscription button if you want to see more of these. If you have any suggestions please let me know. And thank you all so much for watching today. Until next time, bye!